Alright, welcome back, guys, to another freaking video. Just waiting, making sure we're all connected on all fronts. On all fronts and backs and rounds and rounds. Got this one should be good, this one, and that one. This one should be good. Okay, looks like we are good. We are ready. Spaghetti, confetti. So, welcome back to another video, guys. Today I wanted to talk about time, because I was talking about this with my I do not like that word friend, but we'll just say someone I know in my life, in my personal life, someone close, and we were talking about time because I was a bit worried about time and stressing about how I'm going to utilize it the most effective way possible, right? And she was like, remember, time is just an illusion. And then I was sitting there and thinking, like, I get that, but at the same time, it kind of brought me to that concept of time is actually the only resource that cannot be replenished. You can't earn back your time. You can't buy back your time. You cannot just make time. You know what I mean? Like out of thin air. Time is just something that is constantly passing by. You know what I mean? So when it comes to that, you sort of need to utilize it the most effectively. Like when it comes to budgeting, or, that's how I kind of view my budgeting. It's really about how much time I'm using. Anything else, in terms of money and all that kind of stuff, yes, I obviously will utilize budgeting in those forms. But when it comes to overall budgeting, I'm more focused on how am I utilizing and budgeting my time the most effective way. Because the time is the finite resource that you cannot get back, just as I was saying before. This is why it's so important to manage your time effectively, because your time will literally can mean, the difference between you actually creating the reality you desire, or it can mean the difference of you just sitting by and watching as your life passes you by, essentially. So, as well, if you watched my other video, in the past I posted a video about, I think there was one I posted about selling your soul, and then there's another one I posted about how your attention and your awareness is your esoteric currency, right? I may have that video up, it might have got deleted, so bear with me if you can't find it. Do not stress too much about that one. But just a little preface, your awareness is your esoteric currency, right? This is why we talk about paying attention, because you are paying your awareness, you are paying your time, something that you cannot get back, and you are paying for that experience. And the more you pay for that experience, the more you will gain that experience. Hence why when you start to do something or start to pay attention to something more, and you start to put a whole bunch of awareness onto it, you start to experience more of that thing, whatever it is. It could be you paying attention to you wanting to buy a new house, you paying attention to a new car, and now all of a sudden you start seeing more of that car. You start to see it everywhere, right? This is you utilizing your esoteric currency to pay for that experience, because now you paid attention to that experience. Now the universe is like, here, give you more of that experience because you decided to buy that with your awareness. Okay, so this is why, one of the reasons to why your awareness is your esoteric currency. What you pay for in your awareness, what you pay attention to, is what you are paying for in terms of your life, in terms of your experiences, in terms of whatever else you want to bring more of into your existence. So when it comes to this, this is a form of selling your soul when you are giving your time away to things that actually do not matter, right? This is the form of you giving away your own energy, because time is not a resource that can be replenished, right? So you are giving something away for, depending on whether that thing benefits you or whether that thing actually hinders you, will determine whether or not you are selling your soul for the right purposes, right? Because you're going to sell that time, you're going to sell that awareness, you're going to sell that attention, no matter what you try to do. You know what I mean? So it depends. Are you getting what is worth in terms of you selling that ability, selling that time, selling that awareness? Are you actually getting what is worth out of that experience? Or are you paying for something that is actually in the long run not actually a big benefit to you and may actually be holding you back? Okay, so then, getting back to the main topic of the video, when it comes to time as well, we see a whole bunch of things in our reality that are man-made, right? And I would consider more things that are man-made, those are more based on illusion rather than what we see that is natural in the natural world. Because what is natural, we see things play out on many different scales. So we see growth play out not only in plants, but in people and animals, right? And anything that's living. So we know that growth is something that is natural, right? Same with death. We see that play out on many different aspects and many different scales of life. Not just one scale, humans aren't the only beings who experience death, right? Even objects, to a certain degree, experience a form of death because they transform and they go through a decomposition process eventually. Even some objects like metal or plastic who don't actually technically decompose still eventually will go through their own decomposition process, and they'll break down into tiny little pieces, and then even certain nutrients in the soil can actually break down the metal even further. So I would probably argue there's even certain nutrients in the soil that can actually break down plastics and so on and so forth. But those things take a long, long time, right? But they still go through a form of death, a form of transformation. So it doesn't matter which way you look at it, those are really what's natural, and those are what's actually more real than a lot of the other things that we try to put reality to, which everything in reality is real in some way, shape or form. Yeah, it might be a form of an illusion, but we created that illusion to be real by paying attention to it, by giving it our esoteric currency, by building that together as a collective. Teamwork makes the dream work. So when it comes to time itself, time is just the ability to be able to pay attention to a cycle that is constantly going on, which is the sun and the moon, right? We know that we wake up, the sun is up, and then when we go to sleep, the moon is up, right? And it's dark time. So this is a cycle that we constantly see happening. And we also have our own version of time. There's sometimes when you want to do something, or you feel like doing something, or something feels right to you. And there's sometimes when something feels wrong to you. There's sometimes you feel like you have energy. Sometimes you feel like you do not have energy and you want to relax, right? So there's many different scales, many different levels to time as well. So which is my point of what I'm trying to get at, is that time is one of the more natural things. Time, the concept of hours and minutes and seconds, that is kind of more of a man-made construct. But that man-made construct is still based on something that we exhibit and we view being happening every single day on a constant constant level, right? And change is the only thing that's constant. If you watch any of my other videos, you'll know that. Change is the only thing that's truly constant. So these things are changing and they're going through their own cycles, and those are the things that are constant. Those are the things that we can attribute to more of what we would consider real or reality. Right? So, when it comes to the title of the video, is time an illusion or is it everything else? I would say that time is not necessarily an illusion, because we see those things happening every day. We see people getting older every day. We see people growing and changing and evolving over time. You know what I mean? So that is actually something that is a lot more concrete, and that is a lot more constant, and that is a lot more real than a lot of other things that we try to exhibit reality to, like finances, money, the industries that the government tries to uphold, and all that kind of shit. Those are all man-made. Eventually, in 1,000 years, those things won't even exist. We might have a whole new concept of what we actually use to trade and barter with, right? So it just depends on how you look at things. And really, you could look at things from any perspective, and you could probably eventually come up to any conclusion on how each individual thing is actually based on some natural concept that is already existing and that is actually constant. But time itself, that's something that we constantly exhibit and we constantly see happening at a constant scale. So we can't really deny whether or not that is real or whether it is an illusion. We can probably argue that the constructs that we build around time and the concepts that we build around time, those are more illusion based. But even concepts themselves, it takes for you to have an idea and a feeling for you to be able to eventually create something into your reality, which makes that real. You know what I mean? So anything can be an illusion until a person decides to enact that and create that and initiate that in their reality. So we make what is real, essentially, no matter how you look at it. So yeah, something might be an illusion, but that doesn't mean that it'll be an illusion forever. And vice versa. Something might be real and solidified, but that doesn't mean that it's always going to be solidified. Again, because things go through their own transformation. They go through deaths, they go through rebirths, they go through growth, all of those kind of shit. So I would definitely use my time wisely, but also keeping in mind as well, before anyone gets too overstressing about it, because when you stress about something, you're going to manifest more of that too, because again, you're paying your attention to it, you're paying your awareness. So, it's about having equilibrium, it's about having a balance between both, knowing that time is finite, and that we cannot actually earn back our time. You can't pay someone and then they'll give you back more time in your life, right? And then also knowing that we shouldn't be stressing and worrying about things too much, and having that balance within the middle of knowing, okay, I need to utilize this resource effectively, but I also don't need to sit around and stress and worry and try and hold on to something that at the end of the day is just going to pass you by anyway if you constantly stress and worry about it, because you're now using your time for stressing about not using your time effectively. You know what I mean? So that's counterproductive. That's just going to lead you down the same exact road that you're trying to avoid. And that's kind of like with everything. That's true with most things in life. When you try to constantly avoid something, when you're constantly trying to run away from something, you're eventually going to find yourself running towards that thing, or that thing running towards you, because you are constantly in that mind state of like, I need to get away from this thing. And then what are you doing? You're paying attention to it. So you're paying for more of that experience again. So you're just going to start to see more examples of that in your reality. An example is, you might find yourself not really caring about cleaning your room, right? And so you don't pay attention, because you don't care about cleaning your room, you don't pay attention to the little thing over there in the corner, that piece of rubbish, that blah, blah, blah. To you, it's just like not even in your awareness. It's not in your peripheral vision. It's not even in your reality, right? Because you're not paying attention to it. And so the moment you decide, oh, actually, you know what? I'd like to have a clean room. Now you start paying attention to all the little things that you need to clean. And this might overwhelm you, or it might even more encourage you, because you start to be aware of it and you're like, okay, I definitely need to clean my room. But either way, you just paid for that experience. So that's what's going to lead you to eventually being aware of all the different aspects and ways that you can clean your room, all the different areas that actually need tending to, right? So yeah, just a little bit of food for thought for you guys with that kind of video. Is time an illusion, or is it everything else? I think that everything else is an illusion, if we want to really get down to the nitty and gritty. And time is probably one of the realest shits, one of the most truthful shits that I've actually seen, that I've actually experienced, because I actually see it happening every day. I see the sun come up. I see the moon go down. I see everything happen. And yeah, I'll probably just leave it at that, honestly, because I don't really know how else I can explain it other than that. It's probably the best way, the best way I could explain it. I'm getting fucking hungry. Don't mind me. And I will see you guys for the next video. Yeah, I just thought this was like a little something, a little bit of interesting topic to talk about, a little bit of a like different perspective. Though, you know, I'll be looking around sometimes, I'm like, how many perspectives could there possibly be? But, you know, we create new ideas, we create new concepts every freaking day. So, you know, the more you start to be aware of that, the more you start to be aware of the many different ways you can look at and attack a situation. But because, you know, I come from that old mindset as well of being stuck in like a lack mindset of all those kind of stuff. So it gets to that point where I'm fighting that old demon of myself, you know, of that lack mindset with that new kind of concept that I'm in now of like freedom, of all possibilities, of, you know, everything like that. So, oh, hi, little lady. Thank you for the comment. I appreciate that. Cousin, up the cousin. I haven't been called that in so long. As I say, time is an illusion, though I'll be damned if the universe doesn't deliver right on time. Honestly, yeah, you got to find that like middle like aspect of like, yeah, time is an illusion. Fuck time, you know what I mean? Like, let's manifest. I got all the time in the fucking world, but you better be doing this shit on fucking time. You better be delivering, you know, excuse my language. You better be delivering exactly on time, you know what I mean? I better be getting exactly what I need at exactly the divine timing or the beauty, you know? But at the same time, I'm not bound by the constraints of time. I'm free, you know, as a spirit. I'm free as can be. And that's what just like, it's like almost like a contradiction, but if you know, then you know what I mean? You know how to like wriggle your way out of these like contradictions that we live in, because I feel like that's low-key like a representation of life in general. True, like everything's kind of low-key a semi-contradiction when it comes to like how you actually look at life on each different scale. You know, a lot of things can contradict themselves, and so this is why I feel like a lot of people struggle and they get lost and they're like, okay, I don't know how to see things, because it's like, you know, this is true, but also this is true. It's like you eventually come to the conclusion, like if you're out of that real level of spiritual awareness, that's one thing that I noticed for myself. You know, it might not be true for everyone, but I had to come to that conclusion of wisdom of you know, both can be true and neither can be true at exactly the same time. And you kind of have to come to that middle ground in that aspect where it's like acknowledging that it is that, but it isn't that. And it's neither, but it's both. And so once you kind of get to that conclusion, you'll be able to just like easily just bypass a lot of shit, you know, like, because I find myself sometimes as well, like, I'll be like having those certain days where I stress and I'm like worried about, like I was saying at the start of the video, you know, I'm stressed and I'm worried about certain times. You know, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I have enough time to do X, Y, Z. And then I have to stop myself. I'm like, no, I actually have all the time in the world right now at this point. At this point in time, I've got all the time in the world. Time is not finite for me, right? I'm abundant. I got all the time in the world. But then I also have that thing in the back of my mind. But also at the same time, like, I'm not going to sit around and dilly-dally. Like, you know, you're not going to sit around and dilly-dally and just waste your time doing something that's really frivolous or insignificant to what you actually want to be doing in your life, eh? So that's where it's like that conundrum, that spiritual conundrum that we're all in right now, like. But, you know, we're all working out to get out of it together, you know. And that's why it's each one teach one, you know. We bring our perspectives to the table. You bring yours, I bring mine, and then we kind of come to the middle and we're like, oh, like, okay, yeah, I do see what you're saying. Like, I do see where you're coming from with that. And I also don't see where you're coming from, because actually, no, time is real as fuck, but time is an illusion. And I will probably leave it at that until, oh, we got another comment? Okay. It bends to our will, but we are victims of our own survival instincts. Hey, honestly, and then we bend that to our will, and then that bends us, and then it's like that, what is that, I can't remember if this, there's like this painting that I'm getting in my mind. It's like that man is like wrestling with the snake, right? He's like wrestling with his beastly natures. It's like literally perfect image, right? He's like wrestling with his beastly natures, and the beast is representing like our survival instincts, right? All of these animalistic aspects and desires that we're in, right? And then it's like the man is actually representing like this higher, more divine aspect, even though man is like still animalistic. But the animal is more representing the animalistic side. The man is representing more of that like holy, angelic kind of aspect. And it's like fighting like between the two. And it's like grinding those gears, you know. You got the flame and you got the, like, I think they had in Buddhism, it's like the internal fire. I think it's something like that. I heard like a while ago when I was learning about Buddhism, and it's like this like constant flame that's like on within us, right? And you can either feed the flame, and sometimes you need to like let the flame kind of you need to let the flame kind of diminish into like kindles or embers, right? And then eventually you also need to feed that flame again. Otherwise, because if you just let it completely go out, you might end up like, you might not even exist, you know what I mean? You might not have any drive to even get up, so you just like lay in your bed and let yourself just dwindle away like the flame, you know what I mean? So you have to kind of feed the flame too, because otherwise what are you going to do? You're just going to not exist, you're just going to not be aware, you're just going to, you know, not do. But then it's also like when you feed the flame, then you also have that other, like the flame is like burning and now it wants to consume a whole bunch of stuff. It's like again with that conundrum, you know what I mean? Like it's a beautiful, I was going to say like a beautiful, the word that's not coming out of my mind right now. Like bro, it's like the best way I could probably say it, it's like a beautiful pain is what I'm trying to get at. But it's not that word, it's not that exact way of explaining it, but it's like that. It's like a beautiful pain. So it's like something you enjoy, but something that you want to not endure as well. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like finding yourself in that middle, and you are the middle, you know what I mean? You are the spirit who's balancing between those two sides, you know? So the better you know how to balance and find that equilibrium between those two sides, the better you be able to actually be a master of your reality and maintain yourself a lot better and find that beauty in the ugly, find that beauty in the pain, you know. Candle for light, fire for warmth. Yes, legit. Or like, you know, the water for life and the fire for comfort. Oh, I don't even know. That was a bad example, but you get the idea. You get the idea. That's what I noticed with my videos. Like some of the times, the words that I be saying, especially during, I notice more in Taurus season, the words that I say may not articulate fully what I'm actually trying to say, but when I say it, you kind of get what I'm saying, like on a like a symbolic level. You know what I mean? It's like so it's an interesting way. Like I can kind of see myself from the outside looking in, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like I see how things play out with that kind of energy, where it's like that feminine aspect and that masculine aspect. I'm able to blend like my stupidity and my intelligence and kind of bring it around and then convey it in a way that's actually more relatable, even though, you know, people will be able to hear it and they'll be like, that makes no sense, but it makes perfect sense. And that's exactly what people in my real life have told me. Like some of the stuff, sometimes I'll say stuff like that makes no sense at all, but it makes perfect sense. Like it's just life. It's freaking beautiful, guys. It's freaking beautiful, and I love it, and I hope you're loving it too. And I'll see you guys for the next video. Peace. I don't know why I did it like that, but you know what I mean. Taka ho, kite ora. Bringing the winds of life, bringing the winds of wellness, bringing the winds of health and the beautiful energies to you, yours and your whānau, your family, your family. Yeah. All right, guys. Peace.